Another word about the international system. I think that we still, when we look at the international system, we are talking about the United Nations and the system of states. But as you all know, the international system today is much more complex, much more fragmented, and is not just a question of state relations, but relations between people, relations between networks, and the entire communication revolution has made it possible for emerging communities to talk across borders, violating sovereignty, exchanging information, violating sovereignty, and have made for a much more multi-centered global order. And we need to recognize that if one is to discuss ways of prevention and conflict resolution within this emerging global system. It is also clear that we require a multi-track approach to conflict prevention and resolution. Often in conflict situations, it is very much a single track. It is official diplomacy, or people talk about two-track diplomacy. That is official diplomacy which goes on one track, and perhaps developing a two-track approach where non-governmental organizations or others can define a process to assist the official diplomatic conflict resolution. Often in conflict situations, I will argue that we need a multifaceted approach to conflict situations, and I will explain that in a moment. In conflict situations, we also require a structured approach to conflicts. If we recognize that conflicts have cycles from the formation, the stagnation, the escalation phase, it is important to structure the intervention according to that particular phase of a conflict. Often, though, this does not happen. What happens is that people act in such a way that there is a tremendous amount of uncoordinated action. For example, in a country like Sri Lanka, we've had about 250 to 300 fact-finding missions coming from outside, which has led to a joke in my country, which is that there are missionaries, visionaries, and mercenaries who continue to come in to find the facts. But the problem is that the last fact-finding mission is not read by the other people, the other mission which is coming. So you have this enormous repetition of fact-finding missions, now which goes to Rwanda. I mean, you meet them in the Hotel Kigali. Numbers of people who are coming to find the facts. And this all adds up to chaos. You have situations where it's not one humanitarian agency. In Rwanda at the moment, there are about 250 humanitarian agencies which are active. And when I was speaking to the members of the cabinet, they don't have a vehicle, they don't sometimes have computers, and they see these NGOs, very rich NGOs with high salaries, with beautiful cars and automobiles, almost literally running the country. And this is not only in Rwanda, but in many conflict situations. You have a chaotic behavior which leads more and more to the passivity of the civilian population. And this is why one is arguing that there should be a more structured approach to conflict situations. Now, in terms of a multi-track approach, we can talk about intergovernmental diplomacy. That is the diplomacy of the United Nations, the diplomacy of multilateral institutions. And we know today that most of that diplomacy has failed in the last 10 years. whether it is in Bosnia, whether it is in Somalia or any other conflict situations, has failed.